What's up, friends? Hope you all are doing very well and are blessed in Jesus' mighty name. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what the enemy will do in response to a powerful work of God. And what he'll do is he'll try to put doubt in your mind as to whether or not this was a work of God. So, for example, if you go through a deliverance, a powerful deliverance, experience a healing, get a revelation from God that's just powerful, groundbreaking revelation, the enemy will come after soon after and try to plant doubt in your mind as to whether or not this was authentically a work of God. And I want to talk a little bit about how we can combat these irrational thoughts of doubt that are from the enemy when we know they're from the enemy, of course. And I'm going to use some scripture to do that. But I want to talk about how there's kind of two sides of the spectrum. There's some people that feel the need to understand everything about what happened in a certain instance and be able to try to over intellectualize it and almost be reliant on their ability to understand it as to determine whether or not it was a work of God, when in reality, if it was a work of God, it's a work of God no matter if you understand it or you don't. But then there's the other side of the spectrum, which is people that just don't feel the need to understand it at all, don't want to have any biblical backing behind it. And what this leads to is just unscriptural, unbiblical practices and kind of people getting lost in the woods a little bit, lost in the weeds. But I want to go to John chapter 9, because in John chapter 9, verse 25, to give some context, there's this man that was blind and Jesus heals him. And this man's getting questioned by Jews and Pharisees because there's a lot of people that don't want to accept Jesus' authority. So they're coming against him to basically invalidate the miracle or invalidate the fact that Jesus really healed him. So they're questioning. So to give you some context of this verse, they're questioning Jesus. They're questioning this man. Basically, first, they're not believing that it was the man that was blind. Then it becomes proven that it was the man that was blind because his parents said, yes, this is our son. He was blind. Now he sees. So they started questioning the man and they started accusing Jesus of being a sinner. And they started trying to point and find every single reason in the book as to why this miracle was not valid or why Jesus wasn't the source of this miracle. And I want to zero in on John chapter 9, verse 25, and it's his response when they called Jesus a sinner. And it says this: he answered and said, whether he is a sinner or not, I do not know. One thing I know, that though I was blind, now I see. See, the way that Jesus calls us to judge is to judge by the fruits. So that's exactly what it seems like this man's doing in this instance, right? He's not acting like he knows everything about what just happened. Honestly, the opposite. He's accepting the fact that he has no idea what really, he doesn't really understand fully what just happened, but he did know one thing. He was blind. Now he sees. I think so often when we get questioned, the enemy tries to plant seeds of doubt in our mind, saying, for example, saying things like, you just went through a deliverance, it's like, how can a Christian have an evil spirit? If you just got healed, how do you know it's not just emotional or whatever the case may be, placebo? I don't know. I've seen every doubtful thought in the book. Not really, but I've seen many different reaches of the enemy to try to invalidate something. And I choose this verse because it's something to stand on. It's like when we're questioned, we don't need to know everything. We just look to the fact that if you went through a deliverance, I was bound in these chains of darkness. I was tormented, and then you get the deliverance, and now you're not. It's like that's all you really need to go off of. Or you're injured, or you have an illness. It's like, and Jesus heals you. It's as simple as that. I don't need to know everything about this. All I do know is that I was sick and now I'm healed, or I was injured, now I'm not, or I had this problem and now I don't. And the word makes it clear that no kingdom divided against itself can stand. So what that means is that the devil cannot cast out the devil. So if the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and you see someone that's sick and they get healed, or someone that has an evil spirit that gets cast out, and now they no longer have that, propensity towards sin or temptation or torment, what are we supposed to make of it? And it's as simple as that. I don't know, but all I do know is I was blind, but now I see. And I think that's a great way to look at it. That's why I go to that passage. But not only is this the truth, but it also it takes the pressure off of the person that the miracle happened to. It takes the pressure off of them to feel like they need to understand everything, and it puts the pressure on the person that's questioning or even putting doubt in the mind of the person that experienced a miracle. Because if I'm standing in front of someone, they're questioning me, being like, "Oh, are you sure that's biblical? Are you sure this or that? Or are you sure, or a Christian can't this or that, or whatever the case may be." If your response is simply, "Well, I was bound by this, but now I'm not bound by this," you put the pressure on the person that's asking the questions, because it's like, what do you make of it? I say it's a miracle of God. What do you make of it? I say that I got deliverance. What do you make of it? I say I got healed. What do you make of it? And it's a powerful way to stand on your faith without feeling like you need to know everything. But yeah, I want to talk a bit about like how I would do things in certain environments. Is I often find myself in environments where people don't believe the way I believe, especially around deliverance. It's like people will be like, most people believe that Christians can't have demons, but based on what I believe the Bible to teach and my experiences, I know that they can and that they do. And so I'll be in an environment where I know people disagree, and I'll just share a testimony. I'll put the pressure on the other person. I'll say, I was bound by this, and then I got deliverance, and I got set free, and I never struggled with it again. And it was done right then and there. I was addicted to this sin. I was obsessively this way, and then I got deliverance, and then I never struggled with that again. And it's like, it takes the pressure off of the person sharing. It takes the pressure off of you to feel like you need to know it and defend everything. And it's just you're just leaning on your faith. And I'll talk about one more kind of testimony of just kind of what this looks like when the enemy will do this, when the enemy will try to plant doubt in your mind. And earlier on in my walk, probably the first like handful of deliverances that I've ever done, I prayed for this one person, and they didn't really understand much about deliverance, but hadn't had any experiences like this leading up to this point. And I just offered to pray for him. I knew he was struggling with lust, and so I start praying for him, and within like 2-3 minutes, he looked like a dead person, and his eyes went like dark purple. Looked like all the blood was pushed to the front of his face. He leaned over. We were sitting on a couch. He leaned over, slumped over. I'm like, oh my goodness, like that's intense. And after a few minutes of prayer, he comes back up, takes a deep breath, and the demon had come out, and we have a little conversation. I talked to him a little bit. But then immediately after, he's talking to his girlfriend, and his girlfriend tells him that a Christian can't have a demon. And he's texting me this, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of battling with this." And the way that I responded, essentially, and I think how we need to respond as the body of Christ in faith is, I just said something along the lines of, well, you just experienced that. It's like, or even just asking the question, are you a Christian? Yes. Did you have a demon that came out? Yes. So it's like, it's just, it's really as simple as that. And a lot of the time, the enemy will try to overcomplicate it, and make you feel the need to be able to defend every single thing. And at the end of the day, it was as simple as that. It was, but you went through that experience. But that happened. It really did. I saw it. You saw it. There were witnesses. That's like, and it just reminds me of, why can't that response just be, I was bound, but no, I'm not. You know, I had the demon, and then it came out. That kind of answers the whole problem of, it answers a lot of problems, but I would say, yeah, I just wanted to make this video as an encouragement to not feel like you need to know everything, and just trust in God and judge it by its fruits. Judge a tree by its fruits. Yeah, guys. Hope this was a blessing to you. Hope this makes sense what I'm trying to communicate. But yeah, you guys, God bless.